Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today is July 23rd, 2026. Try to remember to say the date. I want to talk about this woman because I heard, a truth idiot last night. I never listened to him. Again, I'm serious. I never listen to these people, but because of what I speak about, their memes come across my channel. Oh my heck! Anyway, he was, a lot of people are talking about Crappy Childhood Fairy, I believe her name is. I've never watched one of her videos except for the one where she spoke about being called in by the state of California and they wanted to fine her for acting like a therapist, because that's the kind of stuff that interests me. And so I watched that, and of course, she doesn't know how the money works, and now they want to fine her. The last I heard, something like, I could be wrong, I don't know, $25,000, maybe more. This is scary when you don't understand how the justice or the anti-justice system operates. And the reason we have shills on the internet and then they make my videos appear to never be seen is because we understand how the money works. And if we could get enough people understanding it, we would all have our money and we would live happily ever after, believe it or not. That would be the golden age. The golden age will never come before another incident of the Christian Crusaders unless a fair amount of people wake up to this and understand what cestui is. Understand that taxes pay for nothing in terms of nations to nations, and different, when we give money to Israel or the Ukraine or whomever, or we build missiles and bombs, none of it's paid for with taxes. There's just simply not enough money. And if you ever take the time, I'll get into it in another video maybe, and really look at what goes into the surveillance of an American and how it has escalated over the last 30 years. It's amazing because we really haven't increased in numbers at all. We've actually decreased. But we have more courts, more prisons, more judges, more police. Now we have ICE, which is really the same thing as having blue hats on the ground. We literally are currently under martial law. And if you break that word down, martial, it's really a matter of merchants. See, we're under law merchant. This is the one thing she should study, law merchant. These things are not talked about because, in the Matrix, if you watched the first Matrix that came out in 1999, it says, these people that are hopelessly inert because they rely on the system so much. That is going to be anybody that has any kind of credential in this system. They practice medicine, they practice law, and I love how they call it practice, because that's seriously what they're doing. They're just playing. See, they can't come up against the beast. They can't even understand that it is the beast system, because for them it's okay. If you go through their indoctrination, the type of person that, and I'm going to probably veer off on a few things before I tell you very succinctly what this woman can do to remedy herself in this situation, if that's where she's at in the process. I think she's suing them. That's the wrong course of events. The Bible tells us how to do everything, and it's all done by equity. And it's all based on, it goes back thousands of years, merchant law. And this is how we are supposed to conduct business with one another, or trade, if you will. And it's based on honor. And if you think about it, honor, composure, honesty, totally opposite of the justice system we have now. What do they do when they go into court? They argue, right? And that's supposed to be how you come to a conclusion. Everybody in that court, see, the problem is they have you believing it's something that it isn't. And a lot of people don't learn these things until they actually go into a situation in court and go, wait a minute, this is nothing that I saw, in the 80s where they had all the courtroom drama, and it seemed to be like they were always looking out for the underdog and really fighting for people's rights. That was all done to condition us into thinking that that's in fact what they do. Nothing could be further from the truth. But on the other hand, I mean, when you learn this stuff, you go through stages, in my opinion, because someone my age, I've spent 40 years working my ass off in the system, paying taxes, doing all the things, working for assholes, getting up every day and going to work and having a home that I spend very little time in because I'm always out somewhere trying to pay for it at my job, right? And it's very, very rare that anybody enjoys their job. We were not born to work. If you want to work, that's fine. Most people have a desire to do something. They're born with different gifts. They enjoy being productive, and it doesn't have to come under the guise of labor. You really should look at the holiday Labor Day. Quite unbelievable. And I'll try not to veer off too far, okay? But this is our problem. We have too many people that are reliant on the system. And this is why they can't accept it. Like now I see when I started talking about inheritance, you have all these douchebag lawyers out there on YouTube saying, we can help you get your inheritance. The one that your so-called blood relatives hid from you. See, they always have something to counteract the truth. Because that lawyer, he doesn't want you to know the truth. I seriously doubt he understands it anyway, but it's of no use to him at all, because what would he do without the system that's currently in place, which is the beast system? It's not coming. It's always been here. And that's what the Bible tells you. The Antichrist has always been here, and there's many. So it depends on what level you're at when you wake up. I talked to a guy and he said, I'm awake. He was in another country. I go, really? You're awake to everything? He goes, yeah, I only had COVID 2 days. I go, okay, we're done here. I couldn't help myself though. I said, you had the flu because it doesn't exist. Okay? But see, depending on their vibration, they can be impacted by all kinds of things within the ether. The ether is what carries all transmission. Just like we can get water, electricity out of the ether, but they did away with that technology and we literally started like cavemen in this reset. But that's another video. What she needs to do, first and foremost, when anybody does anything to you, they arrest you, they write you a ticket. I'm going to use this as a good example of what to do. You want to agree with thine adversary quickly. And I'm not going to tell you what scripture that is. Do some research, write this down, take some notes. I promise this will help you. You get a ticket on the freeway. I used to even say sign under duress. I no longer do that because you're not really signing anything when you sign a ticket. You're not signing to being guilty or not guilty. You're just accepting it. And so it goes along with what the Bible teaches us. Agree with thine adversary quickly. Rather, than really trying to escalate the situation. Because you got to understand, these people anymore are ones that came back from Iraq. They don't know how to deal with the public. So you may even be killed in the process of just getting a ticket for tinted windows. They're finding any reason anymore to pull you over. With all the surveillance that we have, why do we need flock cameras? See, I'm already working on something for that right now to get those removed. You want to understand what certain documents mean, because all this is banking. All it is commerce. It has nothing to do with you being guilty or innocent. It's only about how much money they're going to be able to assess your to QV account with. through how should I should say this in the right order so I don't confuse you. Okay, a bill of exchange, if you're older, you'll understand what a bill of exchange is even is even stronger than a bank draft, which is a check. You know how we used to have these checks that we'd write, send them in the mail with your utility stub or whatever? That's what a bill of exchange is, and we still operate on those. And the courts are operating on them all day long. But they're never going to tell you any of these things. You've been trained through their artificial intelligence, their social engineering to understand and believe how police work, you know, Hill Street Blues and all that bullshit. It's kind of like the 80s and 90s were about that. Remember all the courtroom drama, all that shit? And the lawyers getting up, you know, and boy did that push people to go into law school. And they think they're going into a righteous profession. But see, the type of being that goes into these professions, they really discourage cognitive thinking. In fact, those people don't excel in these professions. Any of them that you have credentials in front of your name or behind. But they do excel in memorization. And in fact, they are built in such a way that they can retain and recall information. Do you remember the show Jeopardy? Or do you know what it is, depending on your age? Again, this is an interesting time to live in because we have so many different ages in these end times going through all the same stuff, but have been exposed to different things. I grew up with technology, but not, you know, from the moment I could talk. And that's what we're dealing with now. But Jeopardy is really just that. It's like the ones that can just recall information. Yeah, that was 1981. Yeah, the Mayflower. Yeah, Columbus. Yeah, Thanksgiving, right? And this is how all this stuff is, in addition, gets implemented into the social engineering. Because see, like a chosen elect, you'll ask them a question and they're like, because they have an etheric brain that's connected to the source in most cases, the real ones. And they take longer because they're going to contemplate the question. Like, what are they really wanting to understand? How should I approach this? But see, with this other race of being, they just have boom, 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 recall, A, B, C, or D, recall. That's how it works for them. They don't need to know, like, where the water comes from. They just want to turn the tap and the water comes out. That's it. They don't need to know where the milk comes from or how the cows are treated. They just want to be able to go to the store and get the milk. This has all been designed this way. This is another video, of course, on purpose, so that you have no clue of how to feed yourself without daddy government. And they run everything, just so you know. So when you get a ticket, I'm gonna not veer off, okay? This is the end. I'm gonna end this video very quickly. You wanna understand what a notice is. Whenever you get something like that, it literally is a notice. They're putting you on notice. And if you do not answer the notice, it's literally like you're tacitly agreeing with it, just by not responding. And there's no problem once you understand how the money works with responding, because this could be a huge opportunity for you to put cash in your pocket. At the very least, win the case and be in a place of reception to where you are owed rather than they're looking to extract. This is only if you understand the game. And you don't go in with words like sovereign and you know, these are all mistakes we all make when we first start learning, and there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing whatsoever. And I applaud anybody that goes into court and tries to, you know, tries to impress the judge with these things like maritime admiralty law. And I'm not driving, I'm traveling, but there's a better way to handle it all. The thing we've been missing is the bill of exchange, because it's only about money. And see, for a chosen elect, we have a hard time understanding that, how these reptilian brain type individuals operate. They're only interested in the beast system, in process. They're process oriented, and they just want to do what the system tells them. They're like robotic. Especially, you know, we need to keep in mind always too that this other race of being most likely rolled up their sleeve. So they're not even like they were before, whatever that was. Okay, so we're dealing with a lot of different stuff now. Most of this stuff can be done via registered mail, and it should be. All these documents that I'm going to explain to you need to be filed with the clerk of the court that you're addressing. You need to get your case number, of course, because that is your QSIP number. And I talked about that in a previous video. Look these words up, write them down, learn about it. You've got thousands of QSIP numbers, depending on your age, on your SES2QV account. And that little video I made about how much it costs to run the DOJ is the best one I've seen to help you understand how things get paid for here. And it all starts with them bringing us into slavery at birth. And then people have a hard time thinking, I live in America, land of the free, home of the brave. No, you don't. You gotta flip the money changers table. Gee, why would Jesus flip the money changers table? For some doves? No. You're the prodigal son. Anytime you sign your name, money is created. This works on debits and credits. And we were born with everything we need, but they figured out how to steal it from us, our inheritance at birth. And it's all explained in the Bible. This is why they have all these churches in place to steer you in the wrong direction and keep you under control. There's another one, right? Licensed by the state, C501c3, a carpenter. All these people that call themselves truthers that don't know the first fucking thing about money. Oh good, she's getting an attorney. She's gonna fight back. You're not doing nothing. Once you got an attorney, they know that you don't know shit. And you will be paying. Not only will they access your SES2QV account in the background, unbeknownst to you, and transfer however much money the settlement is, because its charges are monetary, you will pay in addition to that over a period of time. A payment plan that they'll set up for you. Maybe that will include jail, right? They don't care. They're going to make a spectacle of her. They already have. They want you to know that you cannot prosper in this place without their licensing and their credentials. This is why people with letters behind or in front of their name are always going to support the beast system. Always. Because they have no imagination of how to live outside of it. Money is the mark of the beast. It is the mark of the beast. It has an image of a man on it, a dead one at that. So, and it's backed by our blood. So what she wants to do first and foremost, she thought she could do this in person. Is she went and just thought, oh, I'm going to go and explain everything and that I'm not doing therapy. She doesn't understand what she's dealing with. But she will. Maybe she has a taste of it. One needs to write an affidavit about everything that transpired with regard to whatever they are suing you for or fining you for, and what your response or rebuttal is to that. You want to write it all down. The Pharaoh said in the 300s that as it is written, so it shall be. And that's still how it goes today. This is how Trump always keeps his hand like this, because that's how the Pharaoh holds his hand. And that's what they follow. Everything here is contractual. Everything. That's why they put us under contract the minute we were born. They put us in slavery with no disclosure. They did it to our parents, to their parents, and the ones before. And every time they issue a birth certificate, I know I'm doing it again, but this is the last time, they have a huge amount of money that's transferred from the Vatican to the US of A, Incorporated. And this is how they make money. That's why I'm not going to get into it now. There's a reason there's a birth certificate and a death certificate all about your vessel, your case. So she wants to put an affidavit together. Everything she told that committee or that group of people, she needs to put in writing. She needs to have it notarized, but you don't even necessarily have to have it notarized. Understand and look up these words, what an affidavit is. So first you want an affidavit about the event, what transpired, what occurred. And you're attesting to that being completely truthful. So you want to make sure it's truthful. And you have that. You have a copy of whatever they sent you. And you put that. And then you want to write a letter. You've got to get your case number, which is your QSIP number. You want to get the information on the court. You're going to get the name of the judge, ideally. And the way it works, I hope I can explain this. There's a guy out there that I just recently found, and I know that he's listened to my videos because I hear it in some of the stuff he says. But a lot of us have been working for years trying to put this all together, and a lot of us have had a lot of it until it came to the Bill of Exchange. And that I started learning about a couple years ago when I was looking at Patrick Devine stuff, and I started to contest all of my utility bills and sending in non-UCC documents, and I should pull it up and tell you. It's like 8 pages. And I got some remedy on a vehicle because, see, all these things have already been paid for in the background within 72 hours, 3 days, the resurrection time, as soon as you sign your name. But see, we pay again. We've been paying double for our trouble. And what the Bible tells us to do is once we understand what's going on, we want to serve the cup back to them double. All these things, look up every single, I'm not going to do it here, but you want to look up every single verse in the Bible that talks about the merchant. It's all about banking and slavery. But the ones that are the most attached to the system cannot fight it. This is why I like this woman as an example, because what she's doing, she's trying to help people with her life knowledge, her experience, just like my experience. Everything I know, I've been taught myself. My life experience, which is extensive, and it's worth something. It has value, but they don't want you to be able to make money that way. You want to agree with them immediately, but you want to do it conditionally. Agree with thine adversary quickly. Look up that scripture. Because what does it say? Agree with thine adversary quickly while you're in the way with him, while you're involved with him. Otherwise, he might drag you into court and then throw you in jail. Why does it say that in the New Testament? Because it's all about banking and slavery. That's why. So, and then it goes back to law of the sea, and ultimately, everything's commerce here. Everything is money. Just try to think of the court and anybody that's trying to hit you up with any kind of fine or fee as a bank. And it's typically done through the judicial system, right? You don't need a lawyer. That's the last thing you want to do. They're there just to divvy up the pie. They are all on the same team. All of them. They're not there for you, I assure you. They want to keep you ignorant. A lot of them don't even know how this works. But see, this is why an attorney is married to the system with their association to the bar and their license. And there's so many ways you can go into this, because you can argue everything. Every single thing is hearsay. But they have to be able to prove that what she has done on the internet with the information that she's provided has actually harmed someone. They have to be able to prove that. And they can't. So you got to look at your case and you agree conditionally. I agree, I will pay, I will do everything you say, providing you can prove that I actually harmed someone based on the things that they outlined. Okay, I'm being very, very general. And they can't. It's going to be impossible, because how did you harm them? Is this person ready to go get a lawyer? Are they ready to divulge to you the one person that made a complaint online that you triggered them? They're gonna wish that they never opened their fucking mouth by the time you're done with them. They don't just get to make a complaint, and the person probably doesn't even exist. They're just on a witch hunt. So you have to set up conditions that they can't meet, but they're totally relevant to what they're saying. Okay? It's impossible to go through right here. But you're going to, say they're asking for $25,000 from you. You also want to request in your correspondence, in your first letter, a copy of your bid bond. When you use words like that, their heads are going to spin. Because this is the thing that they put out and insure and put a lien against. And this is how they get money out of your SESTA-QV account, which they never ever tell you about. They pray that no one ever knows about. This is how it works. They may not necessarily even know how it works, but they do know that they have a procedure and a process. They're in the business to make money. So what you want to do is you want to create a bill of exchange. I would go in, if somebody was asking for a fine of $25,000, I wouldn't do anything less than $3 million. I would write my bill of exchange for it. You include that with your conditional acceptance, and you're going to file all these documents with the court. And then it's going to be different in every scenario, because first, it depends on if they're going to really fight you. You got to be ready to stand your ground. And you may have to go back over and over and over, but it doesn't matter. They've got nothing but time, and neither do you. You're not in a hurry to pay them any money, are you? But see, the money comes from the SESTA-QV account. All you're doing is flipping the table. You're doing to them what they've always done to us without our knowledge. That's why people are destroyed. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Okay, I'm going to end it there. Affidavit, understand bill of exchange, conditional acceptance, and getting these documents notarized, doing a complete affidavit about the event. And then notices. You want to understand what a notice is. Start with that. And you're now you're on a level playing field. It's set up not to be a level playing field. It's dishonest. It's not justice by any stretch of the imagination. My desire, my goal is for us all to get access to our SESTA-QV accounts, and it's this simple. When you sign your name that's associated with your strawman account, which is the Sesta QV account, that moves money. And if all small businesses and merchants started accepting these bills of exchange, these motherfuckers would be over tomorrow. But I don't know. I'm hopeful, but we've got too many people that call themselves truthers that don't have a clue about this. And they're out saying, yeah, she should get an attorney, when that's the very last thing she should do. And going in and throwing yourself on their mercy, like you've done something wrong, because you've survived this prison life thus far, you know, and you're still here, trying to make, you know, think about what you've done to yourself, the way they've, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? They've made us feel so small about ourselves that we go in and we are you're not going to be mean. You're just not going to plead or beg or ask. You're going to direct and demand, report and submit. But you are turning the tables, and you will be surprised. In some cases, they'll just dismiss the case. But this is what sovereign is about. This is what being sovereign is about. It's way beyond just this one case. It's like, who are you as a person? Do you just want to be a YouTuber the rest of your life and get your little, you know, $25,000 a month or whatever it is? That's all you care about? It's really not a good place to put all your hope and dreams, because the rug is always pulled out from under you, because it's a satanic beast system. They'll mess with you just because they enjoy it. You're not necessarily throwing sand on the machine even. Like, they want me to believe no one ever sees my videos. I could care less. The right people will see my videos. And it will help them, and then they'll help people, and so on and so on. And I worked in internet marketing for over 7 years, starting in 2005, and very, very successfully. And Google did the same thing back in 2010, 2011. Overnight, they changed the algorithm, and people that had enjoyed first page, you know, top 10 search position for years, overnight were just like page 100. And there were people killing themselves because their business was over. I would never, ever rely on social media for my bread and butter. And then they get on and say, well, I've been demonetized, and not all of them, you know, but, and thinking that the people that watch them understand what that means. They don't. They don't understand. They don't care. And you just shouldn't be doing that anyway, because anybody that has to make money with information in the time we're living in, especially if it's around truth. I don't care if you're Susie Homemaker and you're sharing recipes and you're showing people how to fix their car. This is awesome. Run ads, monetize your channel. That's great. But if you're trying to share information like I'm talking about, and plus you don't have a fucking clue, and your little screen name is Truth something or other, or Genius, you need to sit down. You need to shut up. Certainly don't draw attention to people that are dealing with real shit, because you ain't the guy. I can assure you about that. Men need to shut the fuck up at this point in time. I'm talking about 80%, the Pareto law, not the 20% that know what time it is, but you in particular. And you know who you are. Oh my heck. You've been so brainwashed, you poor thing. No, you patriarch the men. Look what they've done with the world in the last 400 years. Should we keep it going? Should they stay in charge, you think? They didn't create this earth, this world. They just fucked it all up, and they continue to. Because they have a reptilian brain. They've ruined women, but they can recover. But I don't know about the Karens. Highly unlikely. They did a number on the baby boomer generation, a real number. I mean, they got them from every which way, because see what they did is when you understand how the money works, you need to watch that video on my channel if you haven't seen it. The best way would probably be to, if you just have a few minutes to spare, is to look at the one about the DOJ and how much money is required to operate that compared to federal taxes that are collected each year. And how we've been trained to say that federal taxes pay for everything. It's just like you think you vote, which you don't. Your taxes pay for nothing. It's just extortion, it's voluntary, and that's all there is to that. Everything is backwards. Everything is opposite of what you've been told. Every single thing. And you won't get it until the spirit of sleep has been lifted and until the veil's been pulled back. But everybody wants to be in the truth movement. And the ones that get promoted are the ones that never tell you about the money. Because they're material beings. This will freak you out. They never get out of here. They don't have a spirit. They're like the tares in the Bible, if that helps you. They're just burn up at the end. That's why they get the most prominence in this place. It's as good as it gets for them. And it's the worst of the worst for us if we choose to come in here, because we elected to be here. You really got to get that, because you thought maybe you could make a change. You could affect, some kind of positive change here to reverse what the patriarch has done. Anyway, that's all for now. So I hope that'll help. You took some notes. Affidavit, Bill of Exchange, that started back in the 1800s, 1871, 91. There's a PDF online you can download to learn about bills of exchange. We still operate with them today. They just don't advertise it. It's not civil and federal. All of those courts operate the same way, and they operate under equity law. But we have to flip the table and take control. And you do that with knowledge. And you don't need to tell them. You don't voice this to them. It's demonstrated by your actions. So the affidavit documenting everything that happened, the letter that they sent you demanding whatever it is you're supposed to do, conditional acceptance. You always accept whatever you're presented with. But you have to have a copy of your bid bond. You have to see what the amount of money is that they're trying to extract from this situation. They may say $25,000 in writing to you, but it might be more like $350,000 in the background. So you want to get a copy of that, and expect to get pushed back. Expect it, because people don't roll like this. That's why you really need to know who you are before you start going down this road. Some people have, they've been doing things too that put them in jail. If they continue to try to drive without a license and stuff. This is different. I can't see why they would put you in jail for just, wanting to file these documents. They won't. And more than likely, they'll just dismiss the case. Because when you come back and you say that, okay, here's your money, plus I want to be compensated for, you know, the harm that they did to you. I forgot to mention that. You got to include that. You're saying you're suing anyway, so this is going to be included in your conditional acceptance. But there's no suing, there's no lawyers, there's none of that. Get rid of that. You don't want to deal with that. That's the worst way to go. How you were harmed monetarily. How much is your time worth? $1,000 an hour? I would say so, absolutely. How did this affect your business? How did it affect you emotionally? It's terrifying to have these people contact you. It's demoralizing, right? So you get these documents together, you get them notarized, and you file them with the clerk. Now the ball's back in their court. But you can request certain dates for them to perform by. All right? It all begins with you accept it. Everything's in the Bible about how we do this. And I know I'm just continuing to talk. I should end it right there. That's all for now. Okay? I hope this helps. And now I'm going to work on how we can get all of us get our money back. Our gold that was presented to us at birth that they stole and gave us a little trust certificate in exchange for that's held at the Vatican with our gold.